generations. And now, the power of two restores the one.
We got a bidet! Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're talking about the latest episode of The Bad Batch. I should say latest episodes of The Bad Batch, because we actually got 2 of them. So, and in my opinion, they were very, very good. So, we'll have Sarah go ahead and talk us through what happened in the episode, and we'll give some thoughts along the way, because there's definitely some interesting things that happened here. So, Sarah, what happened this week?
So we started off not really knowing where the show was going, right? So it's kind of like it was a mystery. No real cliffhanger from the last episode. But we start off with Senators Singh and Chuchi. We've seen both of them before. Singh is being escorted by a couple of clones. He's kind of like creeping through the alleys. It's a little kind of sketchy, not super safe. But they meet in a private area, and then they almost get taken out by an assassin. We see this kind of clone type looking person. They're in full armor, right? But it's not any that I've seen before.
Their armor kind of looks like crosshairs in a way, like almost a derivative of it.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it
maybe
looks
like a
like
more
it was.
stealthy version.
Yeah, it looks like it was designed right after the crosshair armor, I was thinking. Definitely like the helmet. But like you were saying, it's all like blacked out. It's like meant to be a really stealthy, covert, kind of operative.
Yeah,
Uh,
so we get some flashes of that assassin kind of creeping through, and eventually they're found, right? I think it's because they try to take a shot at them, but they miss. And Captain Rex's crew is there to kind of save them and to try to capture the assassin, right? We wind up calling them shadows or operatives. The clones that we're familiar with that are kind of like on the good side, so to speak, call them shadows. But when the or not the dark side, excuse me, when the Empire is referring to them, they call them operatives, I believe. So you can kind of either way. The shadow had a puck on him, and there are 2 targets on that puck, right? One was Senator Singh, which makes sense because that's who he was trying to take out, but the other one is Omega. So, being that Captain Rex knows who Omega is, he calls the Bad Batch to try to figure out, like, hey, stuff's not quite safe. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
yeah, oh, sorry, I was just gonna
Go for it.
add like Rex's team stuns the guy, so they capture him, they get his puck. Um, the Rex and the boys, they were prepared for this guy. They were ready. These aren't your everyday clones. These are the best of the best, kind of. So I was trying to say they catch on to the plan, and then Rex has a really cool, like, I don't know, I just thought where they saved the Senators, that was like a really cool action scene. Rex like dives, grabs a grenade, throws it back at him, and then I don't know, just wanted to throw that in there really quick. But yeah, they end up tracking down the shadow, and they actually stun him and incapacitate him. So
I thought
Which
the
is pretty
animation
neat.
was really good during that whole sequence, like with the fire and stuff.
yeah,
Really good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so they were able to capture him. Sorry, I kind of skipped over that, I suppose. But that's how they got the puck and found out that Omega was one of the targets that the Shadow was going after. So Rex calls in our Bad Batch group. Echo was, I guess, supposed to go pick somebody up or drop somebody off. But he drops off Hunter, Crosshair, Wrecker, and Omega over at Captain Rex, and then Echo takes off because he's got other stuff he's working on. I'm gonna get back to what's going on with the Empire in a minute, but just sticking with our main group here for a sec. Uh, before Echo leaves, he actually has a gift for Omega, and it's an energy crossbow. That thing looked pretty sweet. I'm not sure how different it is from what she had before, or like maybe the Empire took her old crossbow or what. This one's got kind of like a green laser on it instead of her old one, I think was purple. But it looks cool.
We didn't see her use it, did we?
No, I was looking forward to it, but that is one thing we did not see in these 2 episodes is her actually getting to use her crossbow.
Because I know, like, when you normally use a crossbow, you have to still load it. I didn't know if this was still something like her other one where she had to, pull back and let go and fire, or is this something that kind of reloads itself, or what? But we'll have to wait and see, I suppose.
Yeah, I think we've only seen it like kick open a couple times. I don't think we saw her actually like shoot or reload or anything. So,
Yeah.
or the damage, right? 'Cause is this like Chewbacca's crossbow where the people go flying? Like what's gonna happen? I'm excited to see the first victim that Omega finds. We know she's a sharpshooter, so
Well, if they keep shooting the stun, we won't see too much.
yeah, that's true. But does the crossbow have that option?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
So do we talk about the second operative? Or I guess you want to circle back to that, right?
Yeah, so I was actually gonna start with what Crosshair knows first and then go back to the other operative.
Go for it.
So the clones are very it's hard to just say the clones because they're all clones, right? Rex's group of clones is very suspicious of Crosshair. They've got some old beefs with him back on Ryloth. I guess there was an issue. I'm not very familiar with it. If one of you guys want to fill that in or know much about it.
Yeah, I can. I believe that was back from season 1. I was just trying to refresh and up on this. But yeah, back on season 1, this clone was on Ryloth with Crosshair, and basically he lost a lot of troops that day, for one reason or another, dealing with some insurgents and stuff. That was the episode with Hera and Chopper. It's been a long time. It's been like 2 seasons, but so don't I'm still fuzzy on the details for that one too, but
Yeah. But they really don't like Crosshair. Like he seriously crossed them, I guess, so to speak. But Rex is, I think, a little bit more lenient. He doesn't necessarily like Crosshair, but he's trying to find a way to make the situation okay because he knows that like Hunter and Omega and Wrecker are okay with him. So he seems a little more compliable or easier to get along with. But the reason why this is important is because there's a lot of back and forth between Crosshair and the Rex's group. What do you know about Tantus? Why aren't you one of these operatives? Why is this operative saying we should talk to you and ask you about what's going on? Like, what information are you trying to hide from us? And all of those good things. We don't really actually get any information. It's kind of just a lot of finger pointing and tension building. But what Crosshair reveals to the group is that even though they scanned the operative for trackers, Hemlock is so smart. Apparently, he would have different trackers that aren't going to appear on scanners. And so, what we kind of find out earlier in the episode from the Empire point of view is that they see that the operative is incapacitated, but his tracker's still on. So he must have gotten knocked out, but he's still alive. And so they're insinuating that something happened to him. So they send out a second operative to go try and find the first one and figure out what's going on. Like, was he captured? Did he just get knocked out and somehow the mission went sideways? So there's a second operative on his way. So now we've got two assassins, right? One is captured and one is basically sabotaging the whole base on the outside. Because at this point, while we're having our back and forth bickering with Crosshair and Rex's group, this is around the time that that second operative shows up.
But before you get too much further, because I had something I wanted to ask you guys about for
Go
this
for it.
scene. So, you know, Crosshair's talking about how these shadow, quote unquote, troopers, they're like they're clones. Like Crosshair was the one that didn't work on him because my assumption is because he refused and he was able to kind of fight it off. But they're still using clones, and what kind of rubs me the wrong way with that is we spent so much time in season one. I'm pretty sure it was season one because it was with Tarkin, and he was like, you know, we're trying to just get rid of the clones. They're too expensive, so we want to switch to, you know, just everyday people signing up to be stormtroopers because numbers are scary. So I find it really interesting that they're kind of doubling back and saying, "Oh, no, 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 wait, they're still cloning. They're just doing a couple. You know, they're not making a huge army, which would be expensive." But I don't know. Did that guy did it make you think back to that at all, or are you just kind of like, oh, they're clones? Like, I
You're
don't know how
talking
to put
about
into words.
the shadow operative specifically, right?
Yeah, like how do you feel about the Empire saying that they didn't want any clones anymore, but yet here they're using clones?
So Crosshair kind of talks about when they're having that briefing. Um, Crosshair tells them what he does know. He does come forward with some information. And he basically tells them it's like a secret program headed up by Hemlock. So Hemlock was always interested in the clones. Like even thinking back to I think early on, I don't remember when this was in Bad Batch, but we've seen like a meeting of um like all the like heads of the Empire. Was that like the season 2 finale? Was that what Tarkin was meeting them like at the base?
I think Tarkin was just throughout season one. Like he was in there quite a bit.
Season 1. I'm thinking about like the summit though. I think that was at the end of season 2
Yeah, I think
where
you're
they had
right.
like the rail car and stuff.
Yep.
Okay. I could be misremembering it from a different episode, but I think that one had Hemlock saying like, "Send all the clones to me. I have a purpose for them." And so as far as we knew, that purpose was like cloning stuff. But sounds like he's got the secret for the clones that are still following his orders and still willing to do. Maybe it's the ones who the chip's really effective on, perhaps. I think those are the people that he's turning into these like shadows. Who's training them and how they're so good? That I don't know.
Yeah, that could be an interesting thing.
That I do not know.
I
But
don't
yeah,
think I totally don't think this is what it is, but I think it'd be cool if it was like Boba training them because he's like one of them. But I don't think that is.
yeah. Did you have anything you want to add on the shadow people secret group of the people, Sarah?
Uh, to Jeremy's point about them trying to get rid of all the clones, but then I guess still cloning some, I think it's just more that they don't want them for general population and that they're trying to clone like the best of the best and maybe not cloning just the everyday average man, if that makes sense. And these, I mean, these operatives, they're pretty specialized. They've got they're swift, they're sneaky, they've got pretty decent aim. There's a sparring match kind of between them and some other clone groups later in this episode and in the next episode, which we're getting to. There's I mean they're a pretty good match. Did you
Yeah,
have anything to
I think the clones are like you said, Jeremy, they are trying to cycle them out for these other troops. Um, So it makes, yeah, it does make you kind of wonder how many of these clones are gonna, I don't know, switch side. I mean, it seems like if they're already being intermingled. It seems like there's already like a lot of stormtroopers following these clones. Like we'll see in the next episode. There's kind of like a mixture of
Yeah,
troops.
because I guess maybe this kind of even adds a little more to it. It almost feels like you remember when we learned about Order 66 and we're kind of told that the Jedi are wiped out, but yet here every new show that Disney comes out with, it's like Jedi Survivor, and then it's like, whoa, wait a minute, how many of these actually were out there and did survive and are doing things? That's kind of what I'm getting at here too, is like, well, I thought we were backing away from these things, but now we're
Right.
investing in them. So I don't know. It felt weird to almost seem like they were doubling back.
I think it's just different leaders and what they have interest in, kind of like different political groups.
Yeah. It seems like for the time being, there are still like some clone captains that are following the Empire, doing what the Empire requests of them. And that's what we see in Wolf's group eventually when they show up here. Um, yeah, as far as the rest of this episode, Omega does come forward with some information. She tells him what they were doing on Tantus, so now Rex is glued into that.
And the M count.
Yep. So she brings up the M count. None of them have any idea what it is. Rex says he's kind of heard of that before, which makes sense, being that Rex was, the trooper right behind Anakin Skywalker. So, um,
Well, one of the last things he tells Hunter is if you want to keep her safe, you're gonna have to figure out what they want her for.
yeah. So they might be able to, and I think that hopefully we get to see that later this season. I mean, we can talk more on that towards the end of this conversation, unless you guys want to talk about that now. But um,
The last thing I have for this episode in terms of story and plot is that the first operative is still tied up, right? But the second one shows up and he's planting bombs everywhere. And he actually does find Omega. She's taking a lunch break with Wrecker. And I don't think he necessarily is trying to shoot her because he's been instructed that she needs to be taken alive. But there is a bit of a shooting match trying to go. I don't remember how it started, like if he was spotted first and that's why there's a shooting match, but there winds up being a shooting match, and it's kind of almost like a bar fight, but in this mess hall, right?
An old
So
Western.
yeah, so with these explosives everywhere, so those start going off and walls start falling down and everything's crazy. And that's pretty much right where we leave off at the end of the episode.
I will say, I thought it was pretty cool in that fight when the like flamethrower was on the ground and then the thermal detonator happened to get right in front of it and then it made the huge explosion. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I will say I really liked how tense slash dark these episodes were. Like, I kind of felt like these were not your average, kids show episodes. They were serious, and the tone was there. So I really liked
Yeah.
that from them.
yeah, like you guys were saying, this guy's running around setting charges. He does get eyes on Omega, like Sarah was saying, and if he wanted to take her out, he could have. He absolutely had the shot. But he radios somebody else. He communicates, sends a message out saying that he's located Hemlock's prime target. So, um, that's kind of what Sarah was talking about, how they want her alive, and the guy knows that. But yeah, he sets his charges off, which causes a big distraction. Um, then they just start blasting. Um, they do end up he does end up taking out the first operative that was compromised.
That's how it
Oh, yep.
started.
He
He
did
shot
shoot him.
him.
Yeah, they
Well, because we'd found out earlier that they had those like cyanide teeth implants or whatever it is. But they had removed it from the one that they were questioning, so he couldn't kill himself, so the second operative, he did the job for him.
Yep.
You're of no use anymore.
Yeah, and then like Jeremy was saying, the one trooper gets a really cool hero moment where he takes the flamethrower out to give the rest of them some cover, and then he ends up getting clipped with a blast, and then like Jeremy was saying, that the flamethrower sets off a thermal detonator, so uh, the building kind of comes down, or at least that floor. So they have to kind of escape out through like a secret exit. And then we're pretty much at the end of the episode. There's a ship with Commander Captain Wolf, I think his name is. So
Yeah, and they had a really long pause, like when they cut and right before the credits, I was like, is it over? Are we rolling the credits here? But yeah. So I think the last thing was him mentioning, that he needed Omega alive to his squad. And then we roll into episode 2.
yeah, so it was like we predicted. This was going to be a two-parter where very connected, obviously.
I felt like if we would have gotten one episode, that would have been the most I was looking forward to the next week. I would have had this
Yeah.
season so far, but I don't know. I think they're trying out different ways of dispersing their episodes to see how the audience reacts.
Well, I think maybe I think they've done some experimenting already. I feel like they kind of know. Well, because like you were saying, the second one is kind of just resolution to this episode. So if that would have been all we've got next week, you know, I think there would have been a pretty negative reaction. But I guess it's hard to say.
Maybe the second episode should have been paired with a different one that led to another cliffhanger then.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But what is the second episode, right? Let's dive into that. So the group is caught in the stairwell of the spire, right? So they've got the Empire reinforcements at the top. They've got the second operative somewhere around there. I don't think they know yet if that operative is alive or dead, but as they're going through the stairwell, they can see kind of like flashlights going around the tunnel from the top half. So that's how they know that there's troops up there. And then at one point, the second operative takes a shot at them, so that's how they find out that he's still a thing. They manage to escape eventually in a secret ship that's kind of like in the side of it almost looks like it's in the side of a cave wall right on the outside. But before they escape officially, there's kind of a little bit of back and forth between Crosshair and the operative. But Crosshair still has his shaky hand syndrome or whatever it is that's going on with him, so he doesn't do super great. But they managed to escape anyway.
I will say that the move that Crosshair used in the tunnel, because he was like, leave him to me, and then he was like repelling in a way, and he was trying to shoot and he kept missing, and so he was kind of like, screw it, and he grabbed something that would have a bigger blast radius, just that to kind of compensate for him missing so many times.
Yeah, he just aimed for the wall.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I mean, it's the way to deal with it.
Yeah.
He recognizes that he has a problem, and he's like, well, this is how I can get it.
Got the job done.
Yep.
Or did he? Because
Huh.
the operative is such a good sharpshooter that they are able to hit the ship as it's flying away and knock it out so it crash lands into the forest.
When we saw that, I had half wondered if that operative was a clone of Crosshair, just because they had the really good sniping skills, but I have my doubts on that.
Yeah, it's weird because they have the same weapon, the same little eyepiece comes down,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're hitting the same kind of shots that Crosshair would hit. So it really makes you wonder if these clones aren't enhanced in some way or
What
something like that.
information are you trying to hide, Crosshair? Come on.
Exactly. Maybe they're taking his sharpshooting ability and injecting it into other people somehow. I don't know.
Agreement to keep him alive.
Yeah, once they crash land, they do kind of run through the woods a little bit. There
Well,
is a nice little moment with Crosshair and Omega. Did you want to
yeah,
go ahead?
they called for Echo to come in and extract them. So that's where they're going in the woods, is to an extraction point. It's about 5 clicks away.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then Crosshair is checking out Omega when they land and get out of their little escape shuttle. He's asking her, "Is your weapon good to go? Are you ready? Are you, And she's like, "Gosh, Crosshair, you're worse than Hunter. Or you're just as bad as Hunter." And he says, "No, I'm way worse." I thought that was really funny. He's kind of like taken over that parental role. Um,
It was really weird to see because I almost feel like he was too soft, too quick. Like he's turned into a big old softy like overnight.
Kind of, but it was still like he still has no remorse, right? So the troopers do end up tracking him down in the woods. The troopers as well as this operative, but the troopers find him first. And we really get to see the clones and the Bad Batch shine here. Um, they're just they just have all the tactics. Um, they do
But
make light work of these guys.
they used a lot of smoke grenades to help themselves have some extra cover.
Yeah, they were outnumbered. They used some smoke grenades. You're right about that. Um, but yeah, you kind of see Crosshair. I noticed a lot of his blasts. He has no remorse. He is not setting his to stun. Crosshair is just taking people out. He takes out the pilot to a ship, shoots the ship down. Um, Crosshair is shooting to kill. I couldn't tell you how many of the other clones. I think a lot of them were set to stun, but there's some troopers going down.
Well, even the Imperial ones were set to stun too. It was kind of in a way
Wait,
like you
they had to be because they're supposed to be taking Omega alive.
Yeah,
right. So, I mean, theoretically, this should have been kind of like when you and your friend, when you're younger, have a lightsaber fight, and you're like, okay, you can't swing hard, okay, you can't hit hard. Just like the same thing with the stuns. You're not supposed to kill each other. And
yeah,
then Crosshair is just out there whipping people.
yeah.
But that softness with Omega, I think, is what Captain Wolf's, or not Wolf, excuse me, Captain Rex's group, even though they had been hard on him in the first episode this week, seeing how he is with Omega, I think it made them warm up to him quite a bit more.
Yeah, it was another side to Crosshair to show that like he does care about his squad. That's something he's always cared about. Doesn't necessarily always put orders above his squad, but yeah, is a different side to him. And he kind of confesses up to them that the Empire finds them very disposable and he knows where his true loyalty lies, and it's with his team. So,
Yeah. But now that this reinforcement group is out of the way, this is when the shadow shows up, right? Or that operative. So, much like before, Crosshair says, "Go on, guys. I got this. I'm gonna take care of it." And we get a little another sparring one-on-one. That way the group can try to get to the extraction point. Uh, Kind of another one of those moments of him thinking about what's best for Omega. Like get her out of here. I'll take care of this. But he kind of gets his butt kicked for a while. It almost seems like he's gonna end up just like Tech and not make it. Yeah, at one point there's like a waterfall, like a river and a waterfall right in that same forest area where they're at, and so he was like almost being drowned, and it seemed like he was a goner. But somebody else, I don't remember who, but takes a shot at the shadow while because he's too busy trying to strangle Crosshair. So he's not watching his six, right? And so somebody else kind of takes a shot and gets at him. Um,
He was being drowned. Like I thought,
yep.
dang, Disney is ready to go like with these dark episodes and really get in there, but he didn't actually get drowned to death, but that would have been
He was
quite a way.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that was a really cool set piece with like all the cascading like different levels of waterfalls. And then they're like fighting, right under the waterfall. Is a lot like the Black Panther waterfall
Mm,
fight.
yeah.
A little bit, I guess. Not a lot like it, but somewhat. That part was cool. Yeah, they Crosshair's getting drowned. Yeah, I thought we were gonna lose him, but one of the 501st bailed him out. Um, and then the operative goes over the big waterfall, so
Yep.
they're probably alive.
Probably, but we don't have to deal with them now anymore. For
Yeah,
now.
no. So they do make it to their extraction point.
Yep.
Um,
But the
but
first ship that shows up is not one they want.
nope,
Whoops.
it's Wolf. But Rex and Wolf know each other. They've been on missions together, surely, in the Clone Wars. Um, so they both kind of have like a little finger gun, but with real guns. Um, yeah, so they're like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "What are you doing here?" You know.
Like that
So
Spider-Man meme.
yeah, exactly. But then Rex just kind of gives him the shortened version of what's going on. Says that there's clones being held prisoner, they're being experimented on. Omega has seen it all. You're hunting a kid. Look at yourselves. And then they're like, wait a minute, we are hunting a kid. And they
We are
let him
looking at
go.
ourselves.
Right at
Yeah,
that point, that's when Echo shows up with the other ship, and I think it's kind of one of those things of like, do I really want to fight for this kid and take out all of my friends? Plus, this other ship just showed up, and it'd just be easier just to not because what am I even fighting for?
right. They're all supposed to be on the same side.
Meanwhile, the Bad Batch is like, Omega's a girl worth fighting for. I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry.
Wham.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what we get to. Rex and Hunter kind of have a heart to heart once they get away. And he just tells him, look, like you got to figure out why Omega is so important to the Empire, which we have, as the audience, we kind of know the answer already. But it'll be interesting to see when or if the Bad Batch find out, what that reason is.
How do you think Captain Wolf handled it when his troops were asking him like, why did you just let them go?
Um, I
I
mean,
kind
I
of
think he did the right thing, but I think he handled it fine. Go ahead, Jeremy. What did
I
you
was gonna
think?
say I feel like his squad took it way too easily. Like they know that they're there to do a job, and they know it's so important that they have to be left alive and all that good stuff. And so when they see that the target is right there, and he's just like, let them go. It's I feel like they'd be like, what? Like we're gonna be going back empty-handed when they know we were here and the target was here. So when we go back empty-handed, what kind of repercussions are we gonna have? I feel like somebody would have made more of a ruckus than they did,
Mm, yeah, I see what you're saying.
unless they
But
plan
then,
to just become purely deserters and just not go back.
well, I think like the commander is always going to take the fall for that kind of stuff. Because they're just like the little soldiers. So they're just following orders. Feel like it's going to fall back on the leadership more than anything. But maybe they get the whole squad of troops in trouble. It's possible. The
I mean, we
Empire is ruthless.
we saw it in Rogue One, like when Krennic was trying to figure out who was the one that leaked the information, and he just had all those scientists obliterated. He could do it with them too. You know,
Yeah.
I was actually thinking of Andor when they were sabotaging the ship pieces or whatever gears they were making, or whatever item they were making, and they had one of the normal
oh,
operators test it out knowing it was going to explode on them.
you're talking about Rebels with Thrawn?
Yes, not Andor, Rebels. Sorry. But
Yeah. So
yeah, I was kind of expecting more of an uproar from his team too, at least from somebody. Usually there's that one hothead who's not afraid to stand up for whatever they think is right.
Yeah. And I get a little bit confused when, I mean, all the clones are based off of the same person and everything. So naturally, I feel like you would get them confused, even when they try to give them different markings and stuff. But especially the ones that were following Wolf, like some of them have a little bit heavier armor, but I can't really tell if those guys are like a higher tier really of soldiers or not. It's interesting to see where those guys fall. Um, but I
Well,
think,
they're based off of the Republic Commando. If you've ever played that game in the past, their armor is 100% what those looked like, and they were just secret squads that would go around and do, secret missions, basically, a four-man squad. So, I they're not part of a four-man squad. They're underneath Wolf, so I don't know how much that plays into it, but that's kind of the connection that I've had to it.
okay, sure. So these are more of like a secret tactical force kind of troops.
At least in the past.
Well, I think it makes sense because I think they even say something about that when um the like special operative like calls for backup. I think they say like we'll send a tactical team or something like that to your location. So
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
curious to see where, like Sarah was talking about, I think it was Sarah. What are we gonna end up seeing? Like, is Wolf gonna go back and kind of, blow some smoke up the chimney and say that things went south and we'll keep looking and then secretly start looking into the M count thing and then maybe we'll learn about the project? Or is he gonna go back, get in trouble, or if they're gonna desert? I don't know. I'm curious to see where that ends up, if we get to see where it ends up.
yeah, makes me think they're gonna do like a big clone battle in the finale of this, kind of like they did a big Mandalorian battle in the end of Mandalorian season 3.
Like a civil war almost.
Yeah, seems like that's what they might be building towards.
That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. Definitely, these were some good episodes of Bad Batch. They brought it back. Brought out the big guns.
Now that the bar's back up there, they better not sink below it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Have you checked out our schedule to see? I know we got it'll be one episode again. Uh, but I don't know about after that. I think we probably got a couple weeks here.
Let's see. Yeah, I think you're right about next week being one. Yeah, we get one next week, one the week after, and then the week where where it's the first week of April, that's going to be another twofer.
Okay, gotcha. Oh wow, I just noticed the finale is like a single episode. I wonder if that one will be like a long finale, like an hour long,
I feel like it
maybe
has to.
40 minutes or something.
Like, how do you wrap up a finale in 20 minutes? Come on now.
Yeah, we can hope.
Yeah. So did you guys have any other comments about the two episodes we got?
Nothing crazy overall. It was just really cool seeing all these you know, clones from previous. I'm almost positive they've all been in the show before, like in Clone Wars or the Bad Batch before. Just from various episodes. I just don't remember them all. But it was cool to see them all again.
Yeah, I also thought it was neat because, like, usually when we sit down to watch The Bad Batch, I'm kind of anticipating something kind of lighthearted, and then once I realized that it was kind of a bit darker, I was like, okay, what's going on here? What do I need to be concerned with? And so I'm glad that they really grabbed my attention with this pairing of episodes. Sarah, did you have anything else?
I feel like not a whole lot happened, and at the same time, there was a lot that happened.
We
But
learned
I
about who the
appreciate.
shadow dudes were, and that's about it, I think, because, we were supposed to, the idea was that Omega was supposed to be taken, but she wasn't taken, and everybody left. So, and just about everybody survived. I think there was one, maybe two people that went out in that first encounter, but
I think a lot of Rex's men were gone or not around anymore. Rex lost almost everybody that was there from the explosions, or at least that's kind of what they made it seem like.
well, that's what drove me nuts too, is like that the shadow dude that got smashed by the rubble. I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely gone. And then we see them come out of the rubble, and I was like, dang it, Disney, what the
Some
heck?
strong armor.
That person better be a special character of some sort. Like, if it's just some random dude, just let him die. Come on now. They spent
Yeah.
so much time beep beep beep, when he got up
Hopefully,
and
that was a little like you think that was a little hint that maybe it's tech? Maybe he's like
I
more
don't know.
more machine than man and it's tech and he's been like rebuilt for evil.
I had wondered if the first guy was tech, but it wasn't. Maybe the
Yeah,
second guy was.
yeah.
Like,
Neither one of them had goggles, I'm just saying.
this is true. Well, they could have pulled him out from the rubble, gave him some LASIK surgery, and then said, hey, no more glasses.
No more glasses, you have super strength, you can lift boulders, you're a sharpshooter.
It's all the Bad Batch members in one person. Oh my
That's what
god.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, that was our discussion on this week's 2 episodes of The Bad Batch. Of course, next week we'll be coming back here and talking about the latest one, and the way you can make sure you are notified of that is by subscribing and turning on notifications. Drops a like if you like the video, and drops a comment letting us know your thoughts on this week's pairing of episodes. And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
See ya.